According to new information from Brett Siegel, a respected reporter from Clutch Point, momentum is building around a possible shakeup in Los Angeles. Ivica Zubac, one of the most reliable centers in the Western Conference, could be available if the Clippers decide to shift toward a full rebuild. Teams that reached out received mixed messages, but the early expectation is clear. The price starts with 2 first-round picks. That alone already changes the entire landscape for Boston. This discussion gained even more weight after the Clippers released veteran guard Chris Paul, following internal tension during their brutal 5-15 start. The move signaled instability, and Siegel quickly pointed toward the Celtics as a potential destination if Los Angeles decides to open the doors to a complete reset. Instability on one side of the league often creates opportunity on the other, and Boston finds itself right in the center of that equation. The Celtics have one of the strongest rosters in the East, but the frontcourt gap is no secret. With Jayson Tatum still recovering from his Achilles injury and the team operating with limited big man depth, the possibility of adding a defensive anchor like Zubac naturally raises eyebrows. The question suddenly becomes simple. Why ignore a move that could address a weakness and align perfectly with Boston's long-term strategy? For years, the Celtics never truly had the salary-matching pieces needed for these types of discussions. Anybody who earned enough money to be used in a deal was too valuable to move. This season is different. Boston now has Anthony Simons, whose $27 million contract creates flexibility that did not exist before. Simons is a talented guard, but he overlaps with the strengths of Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, and Boston's priorities are clearly focused somewhere else. What nobody expected was that the Clippers have admired Simons for some time, as Siegel reported. Los Angeles had interest in him back when he was still in Portland. With Simons in the final year of his contract and the Celtics holding multiple picks, the ingredients for a real conversation finally exist. Adding Zubac would immediately strengthen the rotation, especially in the playoffs, where physical matchups often decide entire series. It would also lower Boston's payroll by roughly $9 million. According to respected cap specialist Yossi Gozlan, the Clippers are entering the final stretch before the trade deadline under real financial pressure. They are nearly $7 million above the tax line, and Gozlan believes the organization will explore every path to lower that number. He points out that going under the tax now would reset the repeater penalties for the next 3 seasons, a detail that carries enormous long-term weight for a team unsure of its direction. The situation only becomes clearer when you look at what has happened in Los Angeles. They entered the year believing they could compete near the top of the Western Conference. They added veterans, adjusted the roster, and talked confidently about a playoff run. Then the injuries began. Bradley Beal went down. Kawhi Leonard missed significant time. The record slipped. And suddenly, the Clippers find themselves in a position that nobody imagined 2 months ago. A position where selling instead of competing might be the smartest path forward. That alone opens a unique window for Boston. While all of this unfolds, the Celtics have been navigating their own challenges. The lack of interior depth has been visible since day one. Losing Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis left a void that no internal option fully replaced. Boston has fought, competed, and found ways to win 6 of its last 8, but the limitations have been visible in every physical matchup. Asking the group to maintain this pace without reinforcement is risky, especially when the postseason demands sharper execution and reliable rim protection. This is exactly why Brook Lopez emerges as more than a simple target. He is someone whose profile matches everything Boston has lacked since the summer. Lopez brings interior stability, playoff experience, defensive presence, and shooting range that stretches opposing schemes. He mirrors the qualities that Horford and Porzingis delivered on their best nights, and provides them in a way that fits cleanly into a system built around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. When you link Boston's need with Los Angeles' financial urgency, the picture becomes surprisingly coherent. The Clippers want relief. The Celtics want certainty. The trade math is not complicated. Lopez would instantly raise Boston's postseason ceiling, reinforcing the defensive wall while giving the offense a reliable release valve in any lineup configuration. For a team already winning above, this discussion did not appear out of nowhere. Earlier in the season, the idea of adding Domantas Sabonis circulated among analysts, but it never captured real momentum. The hesitation around Sabonis did not close the door on front-court improvements. It only redirected the conversation towards someone who plays a different style, someone who does not need touches to contribute, someone whose impact is shaped by mobility, defense, and adaptability, someone like Claxton. And this is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Neemias Queta has outperformed every expectation so far, but behind him, the rotation feels thin. Even fans who love Queta's development are asking the same thing. Is the front court strong enough to survive a long playoff run? Or is Boston relying too much on hope and too little on certainty? Claxton has forced himself back into the league's radar. At 26, he is posting efficient numbers with Brooklyn, and his performance against Boston in the NBA Cup loss reminded everyone why his skill set demands attention. He delivered his first career triple-double. He pushed the Nets to an 8-point win, and the Celtics saw firsthand how disruptive he can be when he is fully engaged. That game did not settle anything, but it planted a seed that is now growing quickly. Boston sees traits in Claxton that feel familiar. Defensive mobility, rim protection, intelligent passing, a willingness to switch onto guards without breaking the structure. He's not a specialist, but he covers so many gaps that he feels like a hybrid between past Celtics bigs. A little of Horford's intelligence, a little of Rob Williams' range, the kind of player who makes a scheme flexible rather than fragile. On offense, his early career role was simple: rim running, low usage, high efficiency. There were stretches where his true shooting percentage touched 70% because all he had to do was finish plays created by stars. Now his game has expanded. He drives more. He assists more. He reads the court with greater confidence. Under Jordi Fernandez, he has been encouraged to handle the ball, create from the elbows, and function as a handoff connector. This evolution makes him more than a one-dimensional big. Still, his rebounding has always raised concern. He is not a dominant presence on the glass. And in a league where second-chance points often decide playoff games, this weakness matters. Yet if he shared the court with Tatum, Jalen, Walsh, or even Pritchard, his limitations could be covered by stronger rebounders. This is the argument that keeps the possibility alive. Boston could benefit from his versatility while masking his flaws. But for this trade to even be possible, Brooklyn must have a reason to let him go. The Nets are far from contention and project to have significant cap space next season. Moving Claxton would open even more. They could pivot toward a longer rebuild, accumulate flexibility, and try again in a future that fits their timeline. Claxton deserves to compete. Brooklyn needs time. That part aligns. This year was supposed to be a reset, a transition, a period of evaluation. Yet the Celtics just refused to slow down. With a convincing win over the Knicks, the team moved to 12-9, sitting. No one wants him to rush back, but the idea of a return sooner rather than later is gaining real traction. And when your franchise cornerstone starts trending toward an early comeback, your entire blueprint shifts with it. Suddenly, a surprising team outperforming expectations combines with the potential return of its best player. And that creates a question that was unthinkable just weeks ago. Should the Boston Celtics actually become buyers at the trade deadline? This is where the tension starts rising. In a season with a predictable hierarchy, patience would make sense. But this is not that season. The Eastern Conference is wide open. No dominant force. No clear favorite. If Tatum comes back, the Celtics immediately gain real competitive weight. And then something else changed the tone of the conversation. Trade speculation began to circulate around meaningful names: Nikola Vucevic, Jerami Grant, CJ McCollum, veterans who bring structure, experience, and real playoff value. Insert any one of them into this roster, and Boston shifts from an overachieving young group to a team with realistic expectations of winning a postseason series. Critics say this goes against the original plan. that trading away Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis signaled a long-term reset, but this overlooks the core reality. Adding a win-now piece does not jeopardize the future. If the incoming contract is expiring, Boston keeps flexibility. The next season still begins with Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard. The long-term structure remains intact. The middle of this season is now forcing the front office to rethink its approach. The team keeps winning. The standings keep tightening. The conference keeps losing stability. And every bit of progress from Tatum pushes the organization closer to a decision that becomes harder to avoid. What no one anticipated was how quickly this situation would escalate. The momentum, the timing, the opportunity, everything is converging at once. And while the franchise planned for patience, the season itself is demanding urgency.